"You need to see this," Dr. Caleb Carter said. "I've never said that lightly." June Marlowe stepped slowly toward the autopsy table. The overhead lights buzzed faintly, washing the cold steel room in a pale fluorescence. Caleb's gloved hands moved with reverence as he pulled back the zipper on the body bag. June stiffened. Inside wasn't a fresh corpse, but neither was it bones. The body was leathery, desiccated, its skin clinging like brittle paper to the contours of sharp bone. The eyes were long gone, the lips sunken. But something was wrong. This man had been buried supposedly for a decade, yet he hadn't been reduced to dust or memory. His flesh remained, bound tightly in rotted ropes at the wrists, his head tilted slightly, throat slashed deep and clean. The cut looked intentional, and he wore a church vestment. The cloth, remarkably intact, still bore the embroidered gold cross over the heart. 10 years in the ground, June whispered, her voice hollow. "And he still looks preserved." Caleb didn't blink. Not preserved, held. His finger hovered just above the frayed rope at the man's wrists. "This was ritual," he murmured. "The blade entry, front-facing, deliberate, deep. Whoever did this wanted it to be fast, but also reverent, like a sacrifice." June's breath caught. Caleb's voice lowered. It's like he was buried by someone who still feared God. She stared at the bound hands, the cross on the chest, the way the skin clung unnaturally to the bone. Or, she said, someone who wanted God to keep him quiet. The coroner's report lay open on her desk, stark beneath the lamp's dull glow. At the top of the page, identity confirmed, Churchill Namdi. Occupation, accountant, Church of Divine Grace. Relation, father of Sophia Namdi. Beside the report sat a scorched hymnal recovered from an abandoned storage room in National Record Archives, a storage for filed cases that never made it to court or denied hearing. Its spine was warped, the cover damped by moisture, but it opened easily in her hands. Nestled in the hollowed-out middle where Psalms once lived was a plastic-wrapped cassette. She unwrapped it, slid it into an old tape player, and pressed play. June froze. The voice wasn't Dammy's, and it wasn't Pastor Tunn's. It was someone else. She snatched the old church choir photo off the wall. Dammy as a boy, shy and awkward. And behind him, towering slightly, a man with a fixed smile and knowing eyes. Deacon Wallace. They called him anointed from the womb. Pastor Tund Adideo wasn't born in Clarendon. He arrived here already wrapped in legend. A black man with deep Nigerian roots, thick-voiced and silver-tongued. He claimed his calling came at birth. A baby who never cried. A boy who could recite psalms before he could write his name. By 25, he had founded the Church of Divine Grace, nestled between old, clapboard houses and crumbling stores on the south side of Clarendon. The town was dying. He revived it. People came with broken bodies and left with healed limbs. People came with migraines and walked out with laughter. People came with doubt and walked out in tears. But not all of it was God, because Pastor Adedeo didn't believe in prayer alone. Behind closed doors, Tund was a student of something older. Rituals whispered from ancestral traditions, inherited from secret rites back in Ogun State long before Clarendon, long before the robes and marble pulpits, and his manifestation were linked to dark powers and rituals, the kind of ritual requiring virgin blood, preferably of African descent, to anoint the tongue and preserve divine favor. Sacrifice, he believed, was the oldest worship. He started a scholarship program for underprivileged African children, mainly from immigrant families with little support. He told parents he was giving their children a future. In truth, he was selecting his lambs. His pattern was meticulous. Girls who heard voices, boys who had no family, children who wouldn't be missed. Before using his victims, he would convince them they were spiritually unclean, cursed. He'd perform private deliverances in a sealed underground chamber below his home. He claimed it was spirit cleansing and an atonement of sins and gateway to salvation. But those who entered never returned. He covered his tracks by building false narrative around his victims. To protect his secret, he kept his circle small. The school principal filtered the children. A deacon with medical training sedated them. A trusted usher handled disposal. Each one complicit. Each one rewarded with new homes, new cars, new lives. The preacher's church expanded. His reputation soared, and no one suspected him until now. The first time the walls whispered to her, Sophia didn't tell anyone. Not her father, who prayed 3 times a day, not the teachers at Clarendon Missionary School, who wore crosses so tight around their throats they forgot how to breathe, and certainly not the principal, a tall woman with hands too cold and smiles too slow. The voices weren't like people. They didn't speak in sentences. They murmured, low, slithering like wind through glass, and always at night. Always when the lights were off and the rosary around her neck grew warm. She held that rosary often, fingers trembling over each bead. It was the only thing that she had faith in. Clarendon Missionary School was a quiet place, and quiet was dangerous. Everything was too neat, too still. The girls wore identical blue skirts and pressed white blouses, and no one ever cried loud enough to be heard. Sophia was different. She didn't make friends easily. She wandered during chapel. She stared too long at windows like she was waiting for them to crack. The other girls called her weird church child behind her back. Only one boy ever looked her in the eye, Dammy. He was older by 2 years. The preacher's son, quiet, clever, with eyes that held back storms. He didn't laugh when she said the chapel walls moaned at night. He didn't flinch when she clutched her rosary like a shield. He didn't treat her like a freak. But because Dammy cared for her, he'd told his father that his friend, Sophia, needed spiritual help, and that was when everything changed. On her last day, just after school, still on her uniform, Sophia was told she was going home. "You'll be going for cleansing," the principal said gently, "to be made whole. Preacher Adedeo will receive you." Sophia was surprised. How did he know? But the words were direct. In her desperation to stop hearing the voices that haunted her, she agreed to do whatever it took to stop the voice and dreams, and so she followed the principal to the preacher's house. She was placed in the back seat of a black car. The windows were tinted. Her rosary was still around her neck. The road was quiet. When they reached the house, it wasn't the main entrance they took her through. It was a door beneath the back stairs, one she'd never seen before. The woman unlocked it with a silver key and whispered prayers in a dialect Sophia didn't know. The walls were stone. The candles were real. And the voices? They weren't whispers anymore. They were screams, and in that instant it clicked. The dreams were visions, and perhaps a channel to conjure her into this coven of darkness. But it was already too late. They had her right where they wanted. She tried to run. She screamed, but her voice never reached the surface. She was tied and ready to be used for the ritual.
For more interesting stories, please support us by tapping the like, subscribe, and comment button.